Hi there guys, super fast video this one. I've been letting this Strymon Flint pedal. This is reverb and tremolo in one enclosure. Really like this pedal, it sounds great. Little on the pricey side, but I guess you're getting two pedals in one, so maybe it's not that expensive when you think of it like that. But it's given me the opportunity to experiment with reverb placement within a signal chain, signal path, and particularly pertaining to recording. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to make a YouTube title out of that, but we'll see. So you're going to hear four examples. Reverb before the amp, which in this case is a clean amp. Over the last year and a half I've been given to sort of using a dirty amp and then hitting it with a pedal, which is what I used to do about 12, 14 years ago, something like that. And then I started using a clean amp. In this case you can only really use a clean amp because otherwise you would be distorting your reverb and that would sound a bit manky. So before the amp, after the amp, but before the impulse response. So I don't mic a cabinet here because I can't record loud. So I'm using impulse response in the atomic amplifier box. So before the IR, after the IR, but before the interface. And then as a fourth example, I'm going to go dry into the interface, and then I'm going to reamp, or just basically send the signal back out through a line out into the reverb and then back into the interface and recording on another channel. So that's basically the equivalent of like a VST plugin or something, except we've got a control group because the reverb settings and the reverb itself will remain the same because I'm using this unit. So here are those examples. Let me know in the comments what you guys heard. Personally, what I thought was happening was all to do with the EQ of the impulse response. Basically, that's an advanced EQ curve, and like a guitar cabinet, it's rolling off the high end and rolling off the lows. So of course, anything you place before it in the signal path then gets that EQ. So putting the reverb after the impulse response had a lot more high end, and as a result, it seemed like there was a lot more reverb, even though the settings remain constant. I didn't really hear too much of a difference putting the reverb or sort of reamping, as it were, through the reverb. Although of course it would give you the flexibility to actually change it. Although you do have to record it in real time. It's not like a VST. What would I take away from this then? Probably that if you were trying to replicate the sound of like an old spring reverb or something, that you should either apply some kind of a low pass so that you lose some of that high-end information, because if you think, you know, those old spring reverbs that people used to use, like the Fender one, you would put it through your amp and then you'd record the amp, so it's passed through a cabinet and it's got that cabinet EQ on it. Whereas now we have a lot more high-end information that they didn't have present if you want to replicate those kind of sounds. I used the room setting on the Strymon. It didn't matter which reverb; it only mattered that it was constant. But even a room or a chamber, one of the ways that they achieved that on old recordings was to play the recording back in the chamber through some speakers and then record the noise. Well, again, it's come through some speakers. Now, it might have been vintage PA speakers, which probably had more top end than a guitar cab. but not a lot. If you listen to old PAs, they're always kind of muffled, you know, especially like these old valve heads and things. Very warm sound. So all roads basically leading to some kind of low pass being useful on reverb is probably what I'm going to take away from this. I hope you guys dug the video. If you did, maybe give it a like, share, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and I'll see you next time. Later.